Peng Peng Lee makes her triumphant return to gymnastics and is totally robbed on balance beam and some other stuff. This is episode 132 for January 14th, January 14th, 2015. And welcome to the #1 gymnastics podcast in the world. I'm Jessica, and I'm here with Uncle Tim from Uncle Tim Talks Men's Gym, and Evan Heider. You can find him at YoEv on Twitter. And because we just watched this and I'm outraged, and I want to remind everybody that this show is PG-13, just so you know. So you might hear a few naughty words, and am I about to right now say a couple because I'm so outraged. What the shit was that beam score for Peng Peng? We just watched the UCLA OSU meet as a group. Hello? Where were the deductions? 9875? No.
I was actually watching the Washington meet, so I have yet to see this, but I will share my feedback. What was who went before her? Was it just a matter of, not having a good setup? Well,
they did an interesting thing. They put Sam Peshek up first, obviously to set the bar high. Then Noosh went, who's capable of getting a 10. Noosh, her foot slipped on her transverse aerial full dismount, and she landed on her side, which really sucked. But that's the first. They kept talking about how she hasn't missed a single routine. She's 60 for 60 routines. And of course, then her foot slipped right as she was taking off. She landed on her side. It was really kind of scary. So then they put up Sofina, who had almost a fall, but hung on really well. And then they put up Alette, and then they put up Baby Gerber. So they kind of did a reverse build. They put the highest scores up the first two spots and then went from there, and then put up Peng Peng, who clearly has the best routine, last. She did her flare mount, 2 flares, home flares mount. She did her series perfectly. Flip-flop, 2-foot layout, perfect. Front tuck, perfect. Put her, okay, she's a tiny bit cowboyed, but please, nobody deducts for that. She did a double turn perfectly at 1,000 miles an hour, like Simone Biles' squatty turn speed. And then she stuck her dismount 9875. No. I'm not having this.
Well, maybe this is just going to be her lowest score of the entire season, and it's just going to be 10s from here.
It better be her lowest score ever, because I am so pissed. I'm so pissed. She was magnificent. It was.
Well, you can take this up with Maureen Blair and Janine Bissonnette, both national judges on balance beam at Oregon State tonight.
I will. I want to hear from them, and I want to know why. And if I see anybody to bring their legs and knees apart even the tiniest bit the whole rest of the season on a front tuck, then you're going to hear about it from me, okay? Or who does flares? Who does that much difficulty? Ugh. I'm very upset.
That said, yes, I do think that the scoring overall was a little tighter and a little lower than a lot of the meets we have seen. And it's interesting because, lots of people were complaining about high scoring right out of the bat. And then you have this meet that's low scoring, and we have Jessica O'Byrne shitting a brick on gymnastic because Peng Peng was ripped off. So the judges really can't win is, I guess, my point here.
Well, I mean, okay, let's talk about that, because I think, well, first of all, obviously I'm right. But second of all, I agree that I like the Pac-12 is always known, the whole rest of the country is known for having accurate scoring, while the SEC is just blowing up their scores all the time. And we haven't seen that so much this year. And then with UCLA's vault rotation, they didn't have the best form in the air, but they were sticking the crap out of him, which is normally a 49.9 for if it was in the SEC. But here they got, it was very high, but it was nothing like an SEC score. And basically I was like, oh, if they're in the SEC, that would have been the way higher scoring. So I appreciate that we have more accurate and fair scoring in the Pac-12. Thank you very much. But, I mean, obviously, Peng Peng was ripped off. On bars, too. Although I couldn't see it from the side, so I couldn't really judge if she hit all of her handstands. But she has the best Bahardwaj in the world, so...
But she was really close to the bar when she caught, which should be a deduction.
Except... But then she has a different technique when she comes out of it than other people, though.
Yeah, I don't know. I think she was too close on the catch.
I think that's why her Bhardwaj is like an actual full instead of like a barrel roll because of the technique that she uses. So I don't know. I would rather see it done like her in the air and catch a little bit closer, but she didn't bend her arms when she caught.
But it is a release move, and if somebody caught their Tkachev like that, it would also be a deduction.
We're going to have to discuss this with the judge that we'll have on later because I totally disagree. I pulled like a boob muscle when my chest hurts after Bang Bang did beam and I lost it and screamed. Thank God it's so early, my poor neighbors. And like my boob hurts just on one side. I think I got too excited and cheered too hard. I'm going to have to ice it later. I just wanted you guys to know.
Did you cry at all from happiness or boob injury?
I didn't cry this time. I got all my tears out, my sloppy, dripping down my cheeks, embarrassing nose running cries at the intra-squad. So today I was just ridiculously happy. I had to make myself some tea because my throat is totally hurting. So, yeah, but so none of that. I was very composed, very, very composed, except the screaming.
Until now.
Now I'm furious. I mean, all right, we just watched this meet, so it's now going to be like, I need a little bit to process. I'm going to have to, look at the highest score on beam for the night. And if her score was the highest, then okay, I guess that'll be okay with me. But I also have to mention Tang from Oregon, who I love, and I think she's one of the best beam workers in all of the NCAA, and she should be in the NCAA finals. I just love her.
Well,
Can't get
spoiler alert, they tied for the beam title tonight.
All right. Then I still think Peng's was a 10, but those were the two best beam workers.
Okay.
Hands down. Even though Peng was better, those two are the best. So I'm okay with that. Oh, you know who our favorite? Pop rocks in a leotard? That was the comment of night from that commentator guy whose name I can't remember. He's with Amanda Borden's sidekick. That's what we'll call him. Uncle Tim, what were you thinking when he said that about Risa Perez? Did he just capture her essence?
Kind of. And thankfully, I had a package of Pop Rocks in my cupboard to tweet out. So he's talking about Risa Perez who was of ASU last year or Arizona. Evan, help me out here.
Arizona State last year.
Yeah, and now she's on Oregon State, and she was on floor, and she did one of her dynamic floor routines and just had so much pizzazz and so much energy throughout the entire routine. And then at the very end, he's like, she is, what did he say again, Jess?
Pop rocks in a leotard.
And that pretty much captures her. Yeah. She was making faces on balance beam. It was great.
I know faces bother me so much when other people do them or like when cheerleaders do them, but when she does them, I'm like, they're perfect. She's perfect in every way. She can do nothing wrong. She just totally pulls it off. I love it. Apparently there's a thing at the end now of her routine. She does like what are the saws that you use on trees that have a motor?
Chainsaw.
Thank you. So a chainsaw, and I was like, oh, that's terrible. Is that because all they do is cutting down the trees in Oregon? Or I was like, is that like because beavers cut down trees to make their dams? Because I don't like the environmental impact side of that. But then again, maybe they're all for ethical logging now and you have to replant. And there's no...
Or is that like a threat to Stanford? She's like, it's logging season. Trees, watch out.
I like it. No comment from Mr. Bay Area over there. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So I digress. Is there anything else about this meet that we should definitely absolutely discuss?
I'm trying to think.
I'm looking at my notes really quick.
I would... let me think.
It seemed like the holes for UCLA tonight were really on floor and beam. So the first half, just like you said, Jess, they were both over 49 on vault and bars, and then on beam and floor, under 49 and well under 49 at 48.7 on floor. So obvious improvements to be made, but still hitting a 196 even. So not a horrible start for UCLA by any means.
I think floor, their problem was conditioning. They didn't look ready for a third tumbling pass, and a lot of the girls checked out of their floor routines about 2/3 of the way through. They got to the second pass, and then they just looked bored with their floor routines. They just stopped giving all their effort. I don't know why, if it was just like the crowd wasn't into it, or if that's the way they've been practicing, or what. It was kind of underwhelming. It was an underwhelming floor rotation, I'd say, except for Sam Pejic, who looked great.
What about Pua and Angie? Angie Supra.
They both checked out, I felt.
I don't think that Angie was all over that routine. Oh, and can I mention?
She was at the end. But a lot of those girls, like Sadiqa was done 2/3 through.
But her hair was on point.
True. Okay, well, I'm going to stop making negative comments about UCLA because you will have a counter argument no matter what and defend them to your death.
That's right, I will. But I will agree with you about the conditioning. It did seem like people were not ready for their third pass, except Peshek and Angie, I think, were. But I have to say, I loved Pua's. I love that they had four E passes to start their routines. That's an upgrade from last season. That's good, because basically I feel like everyone needs an E-pass or you can go home, pretty much. So that's exciting. Okay, let's move on. It was... Oh, one thing I wanted to mention. Hallie's bars were fantastic. I don't know if you guys noticed that she took out her Stalter, I think. And she did no gymnastics over the summer. Total rest. Looks so much better. So apparently the Jenny Hansen method is the thing to do if you want to be healthy in college. It's the only way. We've proven that now, because now we know like 4 people who do it that way. So that's it. It's decided.
Sample size 4.
And that makes it a totally relevant statistic, I think. Isn't it 4? Is that what I'm saying? Okay. All right. Let's discuss GYMTERNET news. So, last time we told you that Aliya Mustafina had moved to a primarily men's gym, and she's now being coached by Dennis Ablazian's coach, Starkin. Well, it turns out, the reporter kept asking asking the coach, like, well, what if there's a scandal because it's like a men's gym? And he was like, I don't care. It doesn't matter. Maybe it's good for her. Well, the Twitters told us that she is dating Pavel Pavlov, who also trains with Ablazian under Starkin. And so they've been an item for quite a while. And so that may have been the other motivation for her moving. So, Uncle Tim, do you think this is a positive thing to move to train under a great coach where your boyfriend also works out and lives?
I feel like Aliya has gone through enough in life that she probably can do anything. I mean, who thought she was going to win any medals? I thought she'd win medals, but not as many as she did in 2013 at Worlds. And coming back from ACL, I don't think that a boy is going to be a huge distraction for her.
Evan, what do you think?
I think it's good. I mean, I think it shows that she's able to balance an aspect of her life. Obviously, I think that her approach to many aspects of her life is a bit tumultuous, and she might be one of those gals who feeds off some drama. So, creating it, it is what it is. But I also think it's a good representation of the sport to be like, yeah, some gymnasts who are female have boyfriends, and that's part of it, So I think it kind of debunks a lot of what leads us into our next question is kind of the manifestation of sexualization of female gymnasts and athletes in general. So, Uncle Tim, do you want to read this comment that we got after last week's Celebrity Apprentice update?
Sure. So the commentator said, quote, "I have to say I was annoyed with Uncle Tim's comment about Shawn and how he was surprised she knew what sex was, because she said she knew what Trojan condoms were. Just because she's not Kim Kardashian and flaunting her sexuality doesn't mean she has no sexuality at all. Second, I feel it's not any of Uncle Tim's business. Third, Shawn's image is based on her presenting a little more wholesome front. She's appealing to young tween girls, not hypersexual young men. That really bothers me because it seems that she either must be a virgin or a whore. Why can't she be somewhere in between? And why do I need to judge her on that? I would rather judge her on her gymnastics." First of all, she's not doing gymnastics anymore. Second, so I think the listener has turned my words into a false binary. If I recall correctly, I said that Shawn was not that innocent, implying some kind of spectrum of innocence and sexuality. I didn't say that she wasn't innocent, nor did I imply that she was, going around sleeping around or anything. Instead, I simply was noting a departure in the Shawn Johnson brand. If you think about it, when Shawn turned pro, her brand was innocence, wholesome, Midwest girl. I mean, she was, 15 or 16 at the time. And even in her book, she presented herself as she told us about her kissing an Olympic athlete in Beijing and all that. But shortly thereafter, we began to see a more mature version, more adult version of Shawn, and with good reason. She was, 19 or 20 when her book came out, 19 or 20 when she was on Dancing with the Stars for the second times. And the producers didn't infantilize her as much. They put her in I'm trying to remember which routine it was. It was like this hip-thrusting menage-a-trois samba routine with two men with like a Lion King background, if I remember correctly. And it was just like so much sexual tension. You need a chainsaw to cut all the tension in that routine. But at that point, Shawn still could say, well, that's something my producers made me do. And when she was on Celebrity Apprentice, it wasn't a moment that was scripted for her. It was a moment where you got to see some kind of authentic side of Shawn. And in that moment, she mentioned the Trojan condoms, which is fascinating on the one hand, because she vocalized the fact that she's not 16 anymore, a naive 16-year-old. At the same time, when she mentioned it, she seemed a little uncomfortable talking about it when none of the other women chimed in. She said, "Oh, I know what Trojan condoms are," and I thought of that, and no other woman said that. And it was kind of like, interesting. It was, I won't go into that, but, it raises a lot of interesting questions about life after gymnastics, especially marketing yourself after. How do you market yourself when you're no longer the it thing in the sporting world? How do you continue to make money when the world knows you for something you did when you were 16? And how do you mature in the public eye? I don't expect Shawn to come swinging in on a giant wrecking ball naked like Miley Cyrus. But I do think that in that moment on Celebrity Apprenticeship, she did take ownership of her identity as an adult, and as an adult who's not naive about the ways of the world. And I think that was my point.
Preach.
I would like to see Shawn Johnson endorse any product, like a family planning, pregnancy prevention, safe sex, sex education, anything on a national stage. I think that would be the most important, if not, I think it could be the most important thing a gymnast has ever done. Ever. I know that Shannon Miller does her cancer awareness. I don't know. I think that sex education is so lacking and so bad right now in the US that if Shawn Johnson became the spokesperson for Trojan condoms or anything else, I don't care what it is, like IUDs are in now, or the pill, or anything. I would love to see a commercial or anything public where it's like shocking. Oh my gosh, this is a regular, normal human girl who enjoys sex and wants to have it very safely and have a planned pregnancy, not an unplanned pregnancy. So I think that Trojan should officially endorse her. That's what I would like to see come out of this entire discussion. Yeah.
I mean, how do you think you mature, though, and stay marketable?
That's the thing. I feel like she is on a shelf right now and she's about to expire. And so because this is the problem with how gymnastics is marketed as a whole. It's all this like wholesome young thing. I mean, I heard someone on like my favorite morning radio show. This guy was like, I don't know who this is. It's like a gymnast, it's some Olympian. I don't recognize her, but it's just like a little girl who's finally allowed to eat. And like, she's fine, but you know, she won't make it too long, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, that's all people associate gymnastics with. That's it. Why don't we associate with something else really important that'll actually keep someone in the public discussion, a really important public discussion for a really, really long time, and do something that will change the image of gymnastics in a really positive way? And Shawn could do that. I feel like she's someone that the public still knows because she's been on all these TV shows, and it would make a huge difference, and it could help move her into an adult realm instead of the child realm.
And that's not to say that discussing sexual awareness is the only way to do that, but it is an opportunity for positive role models to step in, especially athletes who not a lot of them have in the past, but really just taking a stance on, I don't want to say anything, but anything. You know, so often you see athletes painted into these corners where they, quote, can't talk about that or don't have any room to speak on issues that fall outside the realm of sports. So I think that this is an important view for us to take, as that our society is kind of limiting to athletes in a lot of situations and a lot of cases to where we don't trust them to talk about anything valid, really.
So true. And I feel like they're told not to do that because it could hurt your marketability. It could hurt your, fan base if you really take a stand on something. And I feel like Shawn hasn't been shy about this. When she went, didn't she say the Pledge of Allegiance or something at the Democratic National Convention when she was like 15 or 16? I mean, I feel like that's at least taking some kind of stand. And I just feel like I don't know, she's someone that I would love to see continue in some adult way. She's in the position to do it, where I think a lot of people, like even Nastia, know her from gymnastics, but not a lot of people know who Nastia is anymore,
It's interesting because in her book, she does write off that Pledge of Allegiance moment. She's like, I didn't know what I was doing. It wasn't supposed to be some kind of political act. So it's interesting. And I'm also curious, it'd be interesting to sit down and talk to her about religion too, because I feel like for a while she was very much tweeting about God, and maybe this is just me mixing all these gymnasts together in my mind. But I feel like she did talk more about God in the past, and now she doesn't. And I'm curious if that's part of her branding scheme from her agent, or if, her thoughts on religion have evolved, or what's going on.
We're going to have to get to the bottom of this. This is very interesting. She still has the same agent she's always had, right? She and Nastia are both with, what's her name? Cheryl Shade. I'm pretty sure. Or did Nastia move to Cheryl Shade and then maybe Shawn left? I'll have to look it up. I just know it was kind of a big deal that all of a sudden Nastia was with Cheryl Shade when she got her NBC gig. So, anywho, moving on. Back to Texas, where all things gymnastics happen. Ariana Guerra. Do we say Guerra, or are we going to say Guerra? No, that's different. That's War. Her last name's not War. Uncle Tim.
Guerra, it means war, yeah.
Oh, okay, it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Guerra. So she is an elite from Texas Dream. She's been on the junior national team, and it looks like she had a really serious back injury. She put a picture up on Instagram of her in the hospital with one of those belts on that like the physical therapists hold people up in, and she has a walker, and then another picture of her back on bars. So that's kind of scary. So wishing her the best. Looks like she's back in the gym, so that's exciting. And I also I don't remember this, but her and Nico Holtz made this really nice, really cute, funny little anti-bullying video and shared their own experiences and their advice. So it's on our YouTube page if you guys want to check it out. I was very impressed with that. Over to Singapore. Scandal in Singapore and the best revenge ever. I love this. Okay, so the head coach at this gym, who's been the head coach forever, was fired. And so his gymnast, who is Lim Heem Wei, and you guys remember we talked about her because she's the first Singaporean gymnast ever to qualify for the Olympics, and she qualified at age 24. And so this is her coach. Her coach was fired, so she was like, oh, really? You're going to fire him? Well, I'm just going to go next door, open my own gym, rehire my coach, and have them at my gym. So now they will continue, and everyone's going to come work out at my gym. So I love this revenge. I love that she did this. And there's a news story about it, but it does not talk about the in between the lines stuff. It just is like, oh, she retired and then opened her own gym the next week. And now even though her coach was let go in October from the national, training center, now he's going to work with her. There's 2 coaches, I think. So it doesn't talk about the underlying feelings, which is that the gymnast felt really betrayed and upset, and she is like standing up for them and using her power as an Olympian in this important position to keep her coaches there, the coaches that got her, the very first Singaporean Olympian, to the Olympics. So I like that story. Makes me happy. So we were just talking about the Pac-12 and all the stuff about scoring. So we just watched the UCLA OSU meet. And so something kind of exciting has happened at UW. And, why did I say UW? Because I was thinking about you, Evan, and watching our precious Elise coach. So Pac-12. Here's what's happened to the Pac-12. There's been all this hubbub about the football and basketball basically feeling like they get used by the schools to make $1 bazillion, and then they're barely allowed to go to class, and feeling like indentured servants. And even though their scholarship is paid for, they don't actually get to go to class enough to learn anything while they're in school, and also just not having everything covered, the real cost of going to school, and how there's so many rules that interfere with that. So, the Pac-12 Conference has adopted changes that were suggested by the Student Athlete Council. The Student Athlete Council president is actually a UW gymnast, by the way. That's why I was thinking of UW. So, the following things are going to start in the 2015-2016 academic year. So they have approved the following. Stipends from $2,000 to $5,000 will be given. So that's to cover stuff like the cost of your books. You know how much freaking books cost? Like one class, it'll be $900 worth of books just for one class. Yeah, so the real cost of attending, not just your tuition or lab fees, all that kind of stuff. All athletic scholarships will be guaranteed for 4 years. That's a huge deal because, you're not supposed to let anyone go for athletic reasons, but it totally happens. Someone loses their scholarship. So now it's not a year-to-year contract. As long as you don't get kicked off the team, you're following the rules, you're being a good student athlete, you're, meeting all the minimums that you have to meet to be on the team. You get a scholarship for 4 years. Now, the other part of that is anybody that's been to school in the last 10 years, 20 years, knows that it's almost impossible to graduate in 4 years. It's so hard to get the classes you need. And so they will also, as long as you've finished 50% of your degree, you can get the rest of your scholarship, like a 5th year. Whatever the cost is to finish your degree, you can do that when your academic or your sports eligibility has run out. The other thing I think is really important is that you can transfer immediately and get a full scholarship. Not like the SEC where there's a ban. If you transfer, you have to wait 2 years unless the coach lets you out of your agreement. Like Florida let out Calusi Perez out of her agreement so she can go to Oregon right away and start competing. But in other situations, the coach can just say no. We're not letting you out of it. And if you transfer, basically, you're going to go to another school and you have 1 year left to compete. Also, medical expenses for athletes are covered. If you're injured while you're in school, for 4 years after school, they will still cover treatment for your injuries. And I've totally had friends who, they basically, tore ACL, competed the rest of the season with a torn ACL, and the school only covered expenses for 6 months after. And they couldn't organize their surgery and doing whatever they needed to do and graduate within the next 6 months. And so they ended up waiting years and years and years to get the surgery they needed for stuff that happened while they were in school. But I want to ask you guys about the transfer rules that now you can, within the Pac-12, you can transfer and immediately get a scholarship. Do you think that this will affect anyone's recruiting tactics? Do you think this gives the Pac-12 an advantage over the SEC?
I think it's going to be on a really circumstantial basis. It's hard to say anything will be certain. I don't know, because the SEC, I feel like, is a completely different world than the Pac-12. So, I'm sure that they recruit similar athletes, but at the same time, with probably the exception of Calusi Pelaez in the last year, transferring from the SEC to the Pac-12, which I think there was more to that transfer than just, looking at a program. I think she has, isn't it her sister who's on the team at Oregon State as well? Mm-hmm. So some deeper things there. I just think that, you're choosing things like those for different reasons. So I'm not sure that we'll see anything immediately like that. And then just one thing I wanted to point out is that these things aren't, all of these additions are just now officially conference wide. That's not to say that different institutions in the Pac-12 and other conferences didn't offer this to current student athletes. The Pac-12 is just kind of going the extra mile to where they're putting into, their rules and regulations that these things are guaranteed. Yeah.
And it's not to say that all the other conferences could adopt these rules. They can adopt them tomorrow. They could make all these changes too. So.
Right. And it's also on a case-by-case basis. So different universities and institutions do cover the cost of books for their student athletes, for example. But the Pac-12 is just trying to make those rules uniform across the conference, for kind of that cohesion across all of their schools, which I think is great.
Right. So that one school can't screw all their student athletes while everyone else is doing the right thing. That's how I like to see it. Right. Because you know how I am. What's happening with Deanne Soza?
Moving over to the elite world. So Deanne Soza, for those who don't remember, she finished, I believe, 6th on balance beam in the junior division at championships. And I think she tied for 3rd in the all-around at the Secret Classic this year. You might remember her for her Podkapaeva meets McCool form. She suffered an awful eye infection that almost left her blind, but now there are videos of her training and her coach doing lots of workouts with her, and it looks like she's getting back into shape. There was a video of her doing a double twisting Yurchenko. Jess, did you have anything you want to add about her videos?
She just looks great. I would never know she took any time off. I think that her family and her coach did a great job of keeping her in shape and coming back slowly and doing it really well. I just love that her coach is like in the pool doing her pool workout with her. Oh, it's so cute. He just looks like a really nice guy. That's all.
And then also in the elite world, the U.S. elite world, Swaggy Maggie, you might try not to say it with my Wisconsin accent there, Swaggy Maggie.
You should. She's like practically from Wisconsin. Minnesota, it's practically the same. I'm sorry, that was so rude, but accents.
It's true. It's
adorable accent-wise.
It's similar. So she hurt her knee at the Pan Ams in Canada on her final tumbling pass on floor, and she recently put out some videos of her training, and she's looking really good. The last one that I saw was her doing an aerial front walkover into a Sassone jump, and while many people have criticized American gymnasts in general, painting with a broad brush, criticized American gymnasts about their flexibility, this looks really good. She looked very flexible, and it looked like 180-degree split, and I thought it looked really good. And Jess, was that something?
Yes, it was gorgeous. It's perfect. It's I would say Chinese level split.
Oh, wow.
Yes. I'm just going to put it out there. Her wrists, although she's channeling a little too much Shannon Miller with the wrists, if you know what I mean. They're a little broken now. I think it's because Eddie Humphrey isn't there anymore to fix her wrists. I think we need to bring him back to bring back the swaggy wrists, swaggy Maggie wrists, because they're a little bent. And you know how I feel about the sad wrist syndrome. They need to be extended, but not bent. So other than that, she's perfection. She looks great.
In further elite news, Victoria Moores has her own makeup blog. It's torymooresmakeup.blogspot.ca if you'd like to check it out. And I have to admit, I was a little overwhelmed because I know nothing about makeup. Neither my mother nor my sister wore any makeup while I was growing up. And I was like, wow, this is a lot of makeup. But I think she should maybe text or tweet Nina Kim and maybe they can form a little gymnastics makeup duo.
That's such a good idea.
It really is. That's international right off the bat. Look at that.
So there we have it. What's going on over in Italy, Evan?
In Italy, there is a sad day in the gymnastics community. Former beam finalist Elisabetta Preziosa has retired. So sad to see her go, but hopefully Inus will be able to take the reins of Italian women's gymnastics. And of course, the stalwart Vanessa Ferrari still sticking around. So that's what's happening on one part of the European Union. And then in another, we have Lewis Smith, a favorite of some people on this show, some more than others. He's a favorite of the show in general, but someone likes him a lot.
Just saying, he has his own calendar. What's not to like?
I mean, just don't. No, I wasn't saying anything. I mean, you don't have to defend yourself. Uncle Tim has really strong feelings about Lewis Smith, so we can just let it happen. But you know who also has strong feelings about Lewis Smith is Lucy from the reality show Tumble that was on previously in Great Britain last year. And they're dating. They're in a relationship now. And someone might have a problem with that. I don't know if it's Uncle Tim. I don't know if it's Jess. Is it you, Jess? Are you having difficulty?
I don't know if this is a good idea. I think this could all go bad. She's like one of those, she's like a Kim Kardashian. Like, you're just on a reality show with no talent and nothing that got you there. Just like you're pretty by British standards, I guess. I don't find her pretty. She has no muscles at all.
What is the British standard of pretty?
I guess her. She just looks weak to me. Like, I could beat her up with one hand tied behind my back, and I don't find that attractive. She's
okay. All right. Well,
that's how I feel.
Tell us how you really feel, Jess.
Yeah. So who is attractive? Who could kick your ass and be pretty?
Downtown Abbey characters.
Oh, Downton Abbey characters? Oh, who do I think's really pretty on that show? I think,
What about Lisa Mason?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh my God, she's hot. Yes.
And she could fight. You would want to fight her?
Yes. Well, okay. I wouldn't want to. My God. She could probably just squeeze my head with her abs and I would, my head would
How do you even do that? I mean...
Have you seen her abs? They'll reach out and grab you and thrash you around the room.
Instagram. They're all over the Instagram.
They are. Props to Lisa Mason. And I guess we'll have to stand by for more of the British relationship news. Maybe we can have a special correspondent phone in from across the pond and keep us updated with that. That might be fun. So in other event news, one of the new ones popping onto the radar this year is International Gymnast Magazine is hosting the Gymnast of the Year Awards banquet in Las Vegas, and headlined by a special guest who is inviting you out on the dance floor with her to bust a move Vegas style. It's everybody's favorite Simone Biles. So, Jess, have you bought your gown and or tickets yet?
I feel like this is more of a little black dress outfit, kind of a I don't know.
An LBD occasion.
Yeah. I mean, if Stacey Irvin wants to take me and my husband, I will totally go. Isn't that a good deal?
What if Lisa Mason wants to take you?
Oh, I'll go with her too.
Or Lewis Smith. He's on dancing shows.
No problem.
It's going to be Jess and her harem of Brits and muscle.
Imaginary boyfriends.
Well, we'll see what happens on that. But what do you guys think of a gymnastics award show? I mean, we don't really have too much information on this other than it exists. So what do you guys think about something like this? I know that other sports like swimming, for example, has kind of a yearly event called the Golden Goggles, which is like a really highly produced, really prolific event within the sport. So do you think this could be the start of it for gymnastics?
I hope so. I always wanted an excuse to wear a tux. So invite me, I'll wear a tux.
I was going to say, oh, and you're going. He wants it to exist, and we will be there. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's always something good. Like we were discussing earlier, is that, you know, the marketing of gymnastics it's very, in the larger picture of sport, you know, we get our chance to shine basically once every 4 years, and then probably, you know, 6 months after the Olympics based on what happens at that Olympics. So events like this that are taking place in non-Olympic years are always really important to kind of let that momentum build. So I think that maybe someday, maybe, there will be kind of a steady rise up to the Olympics, and then just kind of, you know, another rise. So it keeps on getting bigger and bigger each year, because even in the last couple of years, I mean, you guys have to agree that there's just such a downfall of excitement around gymnastics when there's no Olympics, really.
Yep. And it's all going to be because people listen to this show and then they know what's going on all the time. And so there's no down part. It's all just up. And then there's dance floor, and then there's more podcasts. So it's perfect. I love this idea.
Catch us on NBC every night at 11 p.m. to discuss gymnastics with Jimmy Fallon.
He would love us. We'd be great. We would win Pictionary too.
Yeah, I could do a mean celebrity lip sync, and I could be either the celebrity or the other participant. I don't care, but I would be pretty good at it. The non-celebrity, unfortunately. Maybe I could work up to that. And then our final piece of GYMTERNET news, we have gymnastics injury data. So an unfortunate but realistic aspect of gymnastics is that injuries do occur. So we have Dr. Bill Sands, who's a longtime researcher in the sport of gymnastics, and he's started a crowdsourcing data analysis project. So you can visit www.gymnasticsinjurydata.com and get more information on that. The information will be kept offline and it's anonymous. He's hoping to collect enough data for injury evaluation that has never really been seen before. So, you know, in a sport like gymnastics that's been around for so long, we really do have the resources to have some sustained data. And it does exist, just not in necessarily, I don't believe, in a way that illustrates gymnastics as a whole. So I think that more specialized data will obviously help, further research, and also hopefully prevent injuries from happening in some instances when they're avoidable as well.
I put my injuries in. I entered myself into the database to see what it was like. And it's really straightforward. It took me like 2 seconds. And yeah, I hope it helps give more data. And I like that they're keeping everything offline and it's anonymous. You don't give your name or anything. So yeah, everybody should do it. Log on, put your injuries in.
And while you're logged on, you can also give us feedback on this show. So remember that you have a few different ways to leave us your feedback. Tell us what you like, what you don't like, what Uncle Tim said that pissed you off and made you snap and do a full head rotation, or who you think Jess should have a crush on next. So you can do that by leaving us a voicemail calling 415-800-3191. Or you can call us anywhere in the world using the amazing platform known as Skype. Our username is Gymcastic Podcast. So hit us up. We want to hear from you. That's what makes us better, and that's what gives us things to talk about. It's always a discussion. So let your voice be heard.
Speaking of which, we got a fantastic voicemail after last week's episode where you, Evan, were talking about how you're not going to do the handstand everyday project because you're going to be running a marathons, and we got this message.
Hi, it's Jennifer from DC. I was just listening to the latest episode, and I heard you tell Uncle Tim he probably wasn't going to get a chance to do much acrobatics in his marathon training. I thought I would tell you about the time when I was training for a marathon and my gymnastics training kicked into overdrive. I was running down a hill, tripped, started falling on my face, and immediately what do you do as a gymnast? You tuck and roll. So I ended up doing a forward roll in the middle of the street, got up, kept running, and another car was driving down the road, and they almost crashed because they were laughing so hard at my forward roll while I was running. So you never know, Uncle Tim, you might get a chance to try some of those acrobatic skills after all. Love the show, and can't wait to hear the next episode.
Yes. Well, that is so great. And I really think that it's a testament to gymnastics making you a lifelong athlete. So there are certain aspects of gymnastics that really don't leave you, and that air awareness is one of them. And it's also like, if you're ever doing dips or something at the gym, it's your feet are together and your toes are pointed, whereas everybody else is doing crazy form, just trying their hardest to get the skill accomplished. A lot of this, I'll see this a lot during pull-ups at the gym as well. So that whole body tightness and that sense of where your whole body is at in space at one time is really beneficial, especially if you're all of a sudden running too fast down a too steep hill and needing to do a quick roll. So point taken. I can't say that I will try to incorporate that style of workout into mine, but I'm glad you're okay. And I'm glad that you have seen gymnastics come into play during your marathon. So I'll keep you posted.
I just think it proves that gymnasts are huge klutzes, and this is another reason why everyone should start with gymnastics as their first sport, because gymnasts can fall down without breaking their arms like people in other sports who I'm so embarrassed for them. They just fall over and break something. Seriously, if you're not like 80 and have osteoporosis, you should not be breaking a wrist just falling over. That's, gymnastics. It's good for everyone. Let's talk about the meet news. Some NCAA news. So these are the rankings for January 12th, but not all the teams have competed last week. Some had their first meets tonight, like UCLA and Oregon, and UW too, right? I think. So the rankings are not with all the teams yet, but I think they'll probably stand the way they are, honestly. So right now, as of January 12th, Oklahoma is in number 1 with a 197.6. LSU is in second with a 197.1. So this is a big change from the days of Florida and Alabama and Georgia getting a 198 something at their very first meet. So a couple new rules for you guys to know about in NCAA this year. Not all of them, but just 2. We'll go slow so you can just get them all slowly over the season. So the first one is that they're taking deduction now for more of a deduction. I guess they should always have taken this deduction, but if your feet land apart, as long as your heels touch, like men's gymnastics, where they land, then pull themselves into first position and salute, no deduction. But if your feet are so far apart that your heels can't touch, then that's going to be a deduction of up to a 10th. So I love that, because you're not going to have people getting a 10 with their feet like in a full straddle position. Beam dismount. So you remember how a lot of people, it's like they weren't doing their flight series on the beam. They would add it to their dismount. So they do flip-flop, 1.5 dismount. And that would count as their series on the beam. Or they just do lay out, step out into something, dismount, and that would count as their flight series. Well, that doesn't work anymore. Your dismount can't count as one of your flight elements. So that's a big change. So we won't see so many of those same kinds of dismounts. A little comedy relief this weekend was provided by the University of Arizona athlete who I do not know her name. I don't know who this is. So you guys tell us if you watch this meet or University of Arizona, who this gymnast was. They were the most sparkly silver and blue leotards ever. I can't like so many people told me about their Leos and how sparkly they were. On TV, they didn't look like crazy, but I guess in person they were just super, 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 like see them from space, kind of like Utah's old warm-ups. Remember those that looked like they'd wrap themselves in aluminum foil?
Yes, it looked like the bottom of a CD.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Apparently they looked like that. So this gymnast, she looked like she was just doing a regular run, but I swear it looked like she's on floor. She just took too many steps. So she hops out of the corner. Then she, normally it's like 3 or 4 steps. She keeps running. She's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 steps, then does a Rudy, and then did the highest back tuck. Just like, she was supposed to do something else, but was just like, oh God, and just does a back tuck, goes straight off the floor and lands right on the concrete. Totally off the floor on the concrete, then just runs back into her position. Oh my God, I was dying. It was so funny. And she was fine, so it's okay to laugh. As you know, it's fine to laugh as long as everyone's okay. And I didn't know this, but something like this happened to Alicia, right, Evan?
Yeah, I was watching regionals. It must have been 2007 when she was competing for Brown, and she was competing as an individual at the regionals in Ann Arbor. And in warmups, she was doing a 2.5 punch front at the time and way overshot the 2.5, as sometimes happens. But she did a punch front and landed well off the floor, well past the out of bounds, and landed right on the basketball hardwood that the floor was on. So, and just kind of like casual, like landed it, it wasn't like anything dramatic, but just kind of landed and was like, that was way off. And here we go. So, but in the meet, she nailed it. So that was good to see too.
I had no idea that ever happened to her. I wonder how many people this happens to that we never see. I'm waiting for those videos of practice where someone just lands on like the vault runway and someone's going. In the sad news department, Bridget Sloan, former world champion and NCAA champ, was injured in this last meet, their opener. She was doing the last pass of her floor routine. Her routine looked great. And then to us on the podcast, I would say, if I speak for all of us, the royal we, it looks like Achilles tear. That Rhonda said today, as of Monday the 12th, that she said it's a foot injury with no break. They're still waiting for an MRI. I don't know. What did it look like? Does anybody think it could be something else? And do you think that Florida can repeat as champions without Bridget? Uncle Tim?
Well, I mean, first of all, there was one gymnast who did tear her Achilles during warm-ups. So Jamie Schisler of Florida tore her Achilles, and they announced that. So I feel like if Bridget had torn her Achilles, they would know that by now. But I have no clue what to expect. She wasn't crying. I would have been bawling my eyes out. So I don't know. In terms of Florida's future, though, it'll largely depend on what happens with her injury, how long she'll be out, if she can recover. I think everyone was thinking that it was going to be another three-peat. And now it's kind of up in the air, up for grabs. It'll be interesting to see what Kennedy Baker does. I feel like she's going to really have to be one of the gymnasts to step it up. What about you, Evan? What do you think?
So I suppose there's always a glimmer of hope that it's not what we and our unfortunately expert trained eyes. Just kidding. But we've seen injuries like this before. So like Jess said, that's just what it seemed like. So I hope it's not. And I hope maybe in some unforeseen circumstance that she's okay and able to compete this season. But I guess the MRI will tell us everything we need to know. And I think it's important to point out, Bridget always had kind of a different entry into her double pike. And it's almost like an arch from her back handspring. Her back is so flexible that she kind of lifts into it and then snaps into her pike. So from the angle where a video of this exists, you're seeing it from the back. So you can't necessarily see it, but you definitely see something from the takeoff after the back handspring, which is also, a lot of times when injuries of an Achilles, involving an Achilles, do take place. So I guess for lack of, a better inference based on history, that's why my mind went there first. But again, of course, I hope that's incorrect and that she is back, as soon as possible.
This sounds bad, but I'm kind of bummed that it's not a break, because if it was a break, that would be super easy. You're out for like 6 to 8 weeks, it's healed, you're back. Like, it's no big deal. It's ligaments and tendons that always take longer to heal and are more complicated and don't heal the same way. And so I just hope we see her back, because she was looking fantastic and she's just so fun to watch. In a news segment, yes.
I have
go ahead.
Another question. Mm-hmm. Why do you think so many gymnasts get hurt during their junior year and big injuries? I mean, Bridget this year, Sam Pejic, Bri Guy tore both Achilles. What do you think it is about your junior year?
The junior year curse. I wish that Bill Sands was doing this in his study so that we could find out if that really exists or not, or if it only exists in the
our
big
minds.
Athletes who we know about. Yeah.
I think that would be seen. I think those are three that really jump out. I think I don't really know. I think that there's a lot across the board of athletes who have similar injuries throughout different points in their career. But at the same time, I don't know. I don't know why stuff like this happens. Some people think that you're, genetically predisposed, or, your early training has some type of influence on, how your body forms and what you're able to impact. So, there's countless gymnasts who have multiple ACL tears throughout their careers and consistently come back, rehab, and in situations like that. So I don't know, but that's kind of interesting that three really big ones jump to the forefront in their junior year.
Yeah, we could make a long list, like Zamaripa too. I'm trying to think who else. I think Kayla Williams was junior. Courtney Kupets, I believe, was a junior when she had her injury again. Anyway, so we could go on. Just something to think about.
You're welcome for giving you some time to think about that while I answer.
Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Jessica, what's going on with Alabama?
Oh, well, we have to have a news segment called Uncouth or Just Stating the Facts. So I'll need your opinion. Do you vote for this uncouth or just stating the facts? So in AL.com did an interview with Dana Duckworth, a new coach of Alabama, and they were asking her about her new duties, managing the staff, the budget, and she said, "Now I'm the CEO of a multi-million-dollar business that happens to be the Alabama Gymnastics program." So for a university coach to say that, is that uncouth or just stating the facts, Evan?
So one thing that pops into my mind, was she saying it as a joke? And that's totally true. That's totally an honest question in my mind, because I can see how Dana is a bit animated and maybe just an exaggeration of what it is. Obviously, gymnastics is really important to the Alabama athletic department, but gymnastics is a non-revenue sport at Alabama, I would venture to say. So in terms of these millions of dollars, I think those dollars probably manifest themselves in ways like, developing great athletes, producing multiple All-Americans, having multiple national championships in the last decade. But I think it was an interesting choice of words. And I would say, what are my choices?
Uncouth or just stating the facts?
Those are really stark.
Yes, like me.
I would say a bit uncouth out of the gates.
Okay. Uncle Tim?
I mean, we don't really have a way to fact check her. I know that she doesn't make $1 million based on Sarah Patterson's previous salary, which you can find online. But, you know, if it's true, I don't really have a problem with it. I think she's just being super honest. What I do have a problem with is the fact that the University of Alabama doesn't have any Asian history or African history faculty members. And so anyone who's a history major knows nothing about Asia or Africa. That I have a problem with.
Damn.
He didn't answer.
Oh, yeah. Uncouth or just stating the facts.
If it's true, I think it's just stating the facts.
See, I think...
Well, if I agree if it's true, because then it would be a fact. So, I don't think you get the game.
I get the game. I just want a fact checker, but I can't.
I think it's probably true, honestly, because she probably makes, I mean, what was Sarah Patterson was making, like $300,000 a year or something around there? Somewhere. Yeah. Their travel budget alone has to be close to $1 million. I'm not even kidding. Putting on the meets plus the travel budget has got to be that. And then you have to think the scholarships have to be close to $1 million because what does it cost now? Like $20,000 something? To go to school, to go to college, right? And most people are out of state.
Yeah, I guess. I stand corrected. I'm thinking of multi-million dollars in terms of like revenue generated from gymnastics.
Well, I guess well, this is the thing. How do you determine, is that only ticket sales? Because you, the coach, have to generate that much money from donors to run your program. It's got to be over $1 million a year. If it's only ticket sales, I don't know, what did they bring in? Like 10,000 people a meet? Ish?
I don't think they make $1 million in tickets.
I don't think so either.
Right.
But I guess, is that how you're defining it? Only ticket sales?
That's what that is how I'm defining it. So if we're looking far and wide elsewhere, I can see how it would be true.
Okay. I'm going to say uncouth. Shockingly. Because I know it's Alabama, and I think, fact check me on this, I'll fact check myself, I think that the University of Alabama is the biggest industry in Alabama, besides oil, maybe? So I'm going to say, I know the school is a business and that's how it is, but it's a public institution and she's an educator first and people are there to get an education first. And I think this quote is what bothers me about all of the entire, how out of control college sports have gotten. This sums it up right there. I'm the CEO of a business that happens to be a university gymnastics. It should be whoosh, totally flipped. It should be, I'm here to help people get an education and improve themselves. And it happens to be a gymnastics program. And, oh yeah, we also have to raise this much money and sell tickets and I have to manage staff. The whole thing bothered me. And maybe she didn't mean it that way. I know how it is to, you could be misquoted or misunderstood, or someone just takes the quote that will, make people the most upset, like me. So perhaps the reporter took this out of context. I would give her the benefit of the doubt. But man, uncouth. So uncouth.
And if listeners haven't seen the Deadspin infographic, is your state's highest paid employee a coach? You should check it out, because chances are your state's highest paid public employee is a coach. And in Alabama, it is not Duckworth. It is a football coach, but mm-hmm. To your point, Jess, football is probably the biggest industry in Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, continuing with the SEC, let's talk a little bit about LSU. They competed against Iowa on Friday night, and Overall, I think they had some problems that were similar to UCLA in the sense that there seemed to be a little bit of a lack of conditioning, both in choreography and tumbling. Lamincia Hall looked a little sluggish on her double layout and her final pass. Hambrick fell on the double pike. Guys, what did you guys think of two of these floor routines? Lamincia's new floor routine and Reagan Corville's new floor routine. On the broadcast, they categorized Reagan Corville's floor routine as a contortionist routine. I don't know if that's appropriate, having just seen Danusha Francis's floor routine, but what do you guys think? Let's start with you, Evan.
I really like Reagan Corville, and I think it's great that LSU in general kind of seems to play homage to great routines of the past. So that's evident in Reagan's routine. She has she has a portion of Sail, which was her music previously. I want to say both her previous routines were Sail in some iteration or had some in it. So I think that that's excellent and awesome to see from her. I think she's really captivating, and just her presentation overall is engaging, and that type of aesthetic is what works for me. So I loved Reagan's. Lamincia's, I think that she's struggling to find a new way to do the same thing because she's just doing the same thing.
Yeah. Agreed. Jessica?
Reagan Corville is a Irish Daniel. I'm saying this just to you right now. Just you and me, Irish Daniels. I know you have harassed us on Twitter for not talking about Reagan Corville yet. She is an absolute star. She is a superstar. She is the kind of person that will walk into a room and everyone can't do anything but look at her. She's just one of those people. She's, even though I'm disgusted with the diamond industry, and it's a horrible thing, I myself do not have a diamond engagement ring or a wedding ring, I would like to say. She is a diamond. She is just magnificent. She's just stunning in every way. And I don't think that her floor routine does her justice. That's how I feel about it. She is so magnificent that they couldn't even, I don't like the routine, but it still couldn't ruin her, even though it had 100 different cuts of music smashed into 90 seconds. She's that fantastic, but she's better than that routine. That's how I feel about it. Lamincia, I love Lamincia because she's so Lamincia and she's just doing her thing. But this routine just isn't quite there yet. Like, I hope she'll get it by the end. But then again, I know that she just likes to change it all the time. So we'll see. I like that she's playing to the crowd a little bit more, even more than usual. But we'll see. I still just love it because it's just so American. Just quintessential American in that you'll just not see that anywhere else in the world.
I appreciate Reagan Corville's floor routine, and I think it's partially because you see so many NCAA routines that are modified club dancing floor routines, and this one at least try to show different shapes and different, I don't know, and show energy and, just unique kind of almost ugly, contorted shapes in different spots. And so I think I appreciated that. Lamincia, I agree with Evan. She's just trying to find a way to do the same old thing, and it's hard. So I don't know. How do you guys feel about bar routines that start with a kip squat on?
No.
What school is it coming from?
LSU, actually.
I think that it's hopefully just something that they're needing to do right now. I think that Jay Clark is really one of the most talented bars coaches the nation has to offer, and maybe one of the greatest of all time in the NCAA, based on what he's done at Georgia, and now LSU, a former weakness. They went lights out on bars this week, but you never like to say, it's like, pick something, like do a cut catch or something, like anything else. But, it is what it is.
No squat-ons. I'm ready to ban squat-ons. And not even squat-ons. I'm ready to ban soul circle transitions, like to the jump to high bar. I just, no. I can't have this anymore. I'm done with it. And I really? You've got to be like a level 8 at least to be in the NCAA, right? Any level 8 in the entire country can do a hecht to high bar. Minimum. There's just no reason for squat-ons. I feel that the same way I feel about the, layout for a middle pass in NCAA, that you might as well just take a poop on the floor and walk off. It's that terrible. This is how I feel about squat-ons. It's the equivalent of a turd on the bar.
Tell us how you really feel again. Wow.
Feel very strongly.
So while we're in the SEC, Evan, tell us what happened with Michigan versus Georgia.
So Michigan, ranked number 8 in the preseason poll, and Georgia, ranked number 7, is probably the closest matchup that we're seeing, or one of the closest matchups throughout the first couple weeks of competition. And Michigan came away with this one. So as a Wolverine alumni, I am not mad about this result. But I also thought that the scoring was a bit all over the place throughout the meet, but the team total was an accurate reflection. So I'm not sure if I agree with every single score that I was seeing, particularly for Michigan on beam. I thought some of their earlier routines could have scored a bit higher, but I'll take the total because it was a great start for them to the season. And I think the really bright spot for Michigan was all-around winner Nicole Artz, who I've liked since last year. Re-listened to the episodes.
Oh my God, I love her so much.
She's a divine princess in Maize and Blue, and she won the all-around, and it really has the potential at some point this season to go 9-9 plus, I believe, on every event. So watch for that. And then their freshman star, Brianna Brown, so former elite from Cincinnati, is one of those athletes who, as an elite, I feel like she was just constantly overshadowed, and not by any fault of her own, because she did great skills when she was competing as elite, but it just didn't stand out. And I think the NCAA is going to give her the opportunity to do that. And she really did it this meet. She does a double full off beam, and just her extension and line on a double full off beam. It shows mastery of the skill. She was a little bit nervous and bouncy on a few of her landings, but I really think that what we saw from her as a freshman, similar to how I was speaking about Tony Ann Williams from Cal in her first meet, just seeing what you saw in this first meet means that there's good things in store. So watch for Brianna Brown. And then Georgia, I feel like it's just kind of a new era, and that, with the coaching transitions and Dana Durante coming in as the head coach, trying to find her stride and what her teams are going to be known for. And I think it's this kind of scrappy, quick twitch, athletic kind of lineup across the board. So, there are some bright spots with Brittany Rogers, I thought looked really great, and love her lines on bars. But otherwise, it was really just kind of, I don't want to say spastic, but really athletic and kind of tense across the board for Georgia. So it's just a contrast to Georgia teams of the past that looked the utmost confidence and kind of had a mix of a lot of different forms of presentation. And Brandy J almost stuck her Yurchenko 1.5. She kind of landed it a bit abruptly, but was able to control it. So that was nice for them. And then I was disappointed in their scores on vault. It's Georgia's first event of the season. So unfortunately, the judges decided to ignore piked body positions and huge rebounding hops out of their vaults. So I was a bit disappointed to see that. But, things like that are going to catch up with you in the postseason. So I hope that Georgia doesn't feel like it can rest on its laurels on vault, because I feel like that's an exposed weakness based on what I saw. But like I said, the talent is there for Georgia to capitalize, but I think that, for them to make it to nationals and Super Six, they're going to have to rely on other teams making mistakes if this is the lineup they're hoping to put out by the end of the season. And then moving to the West Coast, Stanford already in action last week. You heard me talk about them at the NorCal Classic. They were against San Jose State University. Jess, you watched this one, didn't you?
I did not, but Uncle Tim did.
I did. And since we already talked about Stanford a little bit last week, I'm going to move through this really quickly. We have a second comedy gold moment. Katie Wan of San Jose State fell on her Jaeger, and then she re-chalked up, spent a lot of time re-chalking, and then her coach went to lift her to the high bar, and she missed the high bar, and then came back down to her feet and went running under the low bar. It was the best moment ever. I was like, is that a second deduction or not? But I don't think she got a second deduction for that, but it's pure comedy gold. The second thing I want to mention about this meet is Elizabeth Price and her demeanor. So at the first meet and at the NorCal Classic, she only competed vault. This meet, she competed vault and bars, and it's still great to see her doing some crazy skills. She does her Maloney straight up into an uprise, straight into a, I'm trying to think if it was a church, and right to the low bar. So she's connecting all her skills still. But what I really like to see is her fire. For the past couple of years, I've been saying that Tabitha Yim is the most competitive person on the Stanford women's gymnastics team. And I've been joking about that, but I feel like Elizabeth Price finally has the fire. You see her on the sidelines when they're on beam or floor. She just looks bored. She just looks like she wants to be out there. She wants to be competing and making a difference. And I feel like Stanford needs somebody like that who just wants it so badly. And I think she's that person. The other thing that we have to talk about is the fact that somebody has GIFed Taylor Rice doing her Make It Rain on balance beams. So she literally on balance beam and floor pretends to throw dollar bills like you are at a strip club. And she does it on floor and balance beam, and there's a GIF of it. That's all I have to say. And you also should follow her on Twitter. It's Taylor8 Rice, ATE Rice, because after she fell on her full twisting Yurchenko, and after the meet, she tweeted, "There is no greater feeling of surprise than landing your vault on all fours." And then there's a sad face, hashtag doggy style.
I love this girl so much. Oh, Taylor Rice. Oh, she's like my spirit animal.
She is. Your other spirit animal was at the Oklahoma meet, Miss Kelly Boogers Garrison. I
love her too. She's gotten better, you guys. I'm telling you, like, she still says whatever's on her mind, but she can, she clarifies her statements more. Before, oh my God, I love that her and Bart Connor got in a fight about, well, they, got in a fight. Bart Connor obviously never gets in fights because he's the nicest guy. He's practically Canadian. He's so nice. So she says something about one of the competitors that she's, I think that gets the coach upset because she's always ready somehow for competition, which, really means she doesn't try as hard as she should in practice. And Bart, who of course went to Oklahoma when Kelly Garrison was there, he's like, yeah, I kind of remember that you were like that. And he's like, I don't mean that you didn't work hard. I just mean, and that's, Bart Connor getting in a fight. It was fantastic. So Oklahoma versus Arkansas. This was the long-awaited debut of Brenna Dowell, who finally freaking gets to compete, for crying out loud. Thank God, this poor girl doing the hardest skills in the world never gets to compete. So she does her ninja bar routine. It's absolutely gorgeous. She did her floor routine, which I just like. It's not there yet. I think she still has to learn how to perform with her emotions, not just her movement. But one of our listeners on Twitter or on Facebook said, it really shows how far she has come in learning to listen to the music, phrase, use accent, and project performance quality. And that's the thing. Like, it's not there yet. It's not NCAA quality yet, but it's so far from where she was and where 90% of elite gymnasts are in terms of artistic performance. I really enjoyed it. And she is just a beast, dude. She must have like 1,000 more fast twitch muscles in her legs than normal humans. Everything she does is just that much higher and that much bigger and that much farther. And I just loved watching her. And I'm just so happy to see her finally competing. And she did a great job. So I thought she was totally freaking amazing. And then I watched Allie Jackson, who is a freshman on the team. Oh my God. Allie Jackson did a vault that blew Brenda Dowell's vault away. At least on TV, that's what it looked like. And does a full in on floor that's a laid out piked full in. And it's legit laid out. I mean, I don't know. This is a girl I can see doing a double layout or a full twisting double layout later on, because she's definitely got the potential. So they've got some serious power on the team now. And the announcers kept talking about Kelly Garrison and Bart Connor kept talking about criticism of Oklahoma's they didn't have enough difficulty. And I'm like, really? I never felt like that about Oklahoma. And they brought it up like 100 times. So clearly they have recruited some powerhouse gymnasts to put the E's in everywhere that you need an E, because they totally brought it. The other person I have to mention this meet was Erica Brewer from Oklahoma, who has like Chinese Russian bars. They're so gorgeous. And then Hallie Skaman, of course, is back, and she just has the attitude of, I am winning everything. You will watch and I will dominate you. Hold still while I just destroy this entire meet. Her attitude is like, we will be champions again this year, by the way. And then one of my favorite things that Kelly Garrison said, have I mentioned her like 700 times? That's right, because I love her. She said during the meet when we were watching one of the Arkansas girls, it is so nice to see a genuine smile, not a fake smile, but a genuine smile. And I feel exactly the same way. I can't stand the fake smile at the judges before people go. I can't stand that. It bothers me so much. Like, if you're going to smile, it shouldn't be my coach told me to do this, or, my dad told me that, nice girls always smile. No, it should be genuine in your performance and show the enjoyment and love of what you're doing. And I just say amen to you, Kelly Garrison, and thank you for saying that. And shout out to Arkansas's Aaron Freer, who is 5'7". Although I feel like the Arkansas Leo did not do her any favors, you guys. So let's discuss the Arkansas Leo, which was a red bodice with sparkles and then a turtleneck lace with sparkles top and arms. Evan, how do you feel about this leotard?
Different. I feel different about it because it is different. I think that I want to say that Nebraska has worn this exact leotard before. Do you guys seem to remember that at all?
I feel like it wasn't as turtlenecky.
I feel like it wasn't as sparkly, but it was definitely the same on the top. We'll have to do some investigating, but it didn't feel too new to me. But I think Arkansas has just taken it to the SEC and dipped it in a diamond mine and let it come out like that. So, but let's not forget that Arkansas is kind of known for pushing the envelope in the leotard department. They way back, they were pulling out some 90s stuff in the mid 2000s when they had like the cutouts down the sleeve and, the big razorback on the leotard. Like, they've pushed the envelope for a while.
Which looks just like a pig for anybody that doesn't know what a razorback is.
And totally like owning it. Like, we are competing with razorbacks, like full body razorbacks on us. And then this. So I wasn't too surprised. I don't hate it because I think it's taking us to a different place, but I think that there's definitely iterations that probably could be a bit more doable.
Jessica, would you rather have a pig on your leotard or a beaver?
Oh, a pig. Definitely a pig. Totally a pig. Oh, poor Oregon. What do you think of this lace number?
I mean, so I do see the resemblance to Nebraska. As someone who's never had to wear this kind of clothing and who has never had breasts, I just wonder how girls feel about wearing this kind of bodice leotard. If it's good, like, I'm guessing, do the girls who are larger chested not like wearing it, or do they like wearing it? I don't know. I feel like it would probably look good on some girls, but not on others, and I can't decide how that would work with large breasts and with smaller breasts.
Well, let me just answer that for you, as speaking from the entire large-breasted community. I would just like to say, exactly like a bodice, if you have a large chest, it can look so trashy, especially if it's like one color in the front and another color in the back and doesn't go all the way around, and then your boobs are so big that it pulls like the half color stops too early. It doesn't go all the way around to the back, so where it should, change color in your armpit down your exact side, it changes color like halfway down your boob. That's no good. And then also, if it's an open back, then you have to figure out, like, do you tape your boobs? You have to get some kind of something that will do you not wear anything at all, which is not an option for a lot of people, because then it becomes really like an obscene situation. And not to mention, it's painful. And these are totally an open back. Oh, there's so many things. But for little boobed people, it looks very nice. I think the thing that bothers me the most is when they have sparkly words on their boobs.
Like Iowa's leotards.
Iowa.
Yeah.
No.
Iowa is that.
Exactly. I feel like that's disrespectful to the women on the team. I just can't handle that. I think it's gross. It's like, seriously? That I don't have any other parts of my body you can write words on? It has to be directly. Why don't you just put it down our crotch? Vertically, maybe. The eye can be right at the mons pubis, and then it can end right about your butthole. How about that? Mm-hmm.
So you know how they're like the cheer shorts, like with cheer on the butt? Have we seen a gymnastics team put words on their butt yet?
Wait, I feel like we did, but wasn't it was a coach wearing it and it didn't fit right? So it was on the butt. But it was like the jacket. It wasn't the pants.
Okay. But, I mean, we haven't seen the writing on the leotard butt yet.
No.
Okay.
No. But boobs, apparently, fair game.
Okay. Anyway, so we mentioned a little bit earlier about the Florida meet with Bridget's injury. So Florida went up against Ball State on Sunday, and a lot of people were wondering, why would you open with this meet? Why would Florida, this big team, compete against Ball State, which doesn't really have too much of a gymnastics reputation? And I think part of it is to continue with the tradition of performing at or near your gymnast's hometown. So Ball State is in Indiana, and Ball State also had its highest attendance record. They broke their attendance record, and I think it's the Bridget Sloan effect. As you know, she is from Indiana. Unfortunately, I feel like a lot of her supporters didn't get to see the greatest meet. They saw her score 10, though. Let's be honest. They saw her score the first 10 of the NCAA season, and I think another tactic for this meet was, well, I think that Florida was trying to just have a big away score. You go up against this team and your gymnastics looks a lot better, and therefore there's a big difference between Ball State and Florida, and you hope that you get a massive away meet score in your bag. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. In terms of standout routines, I really liked Bianca Danco's Giambattista. That name is so long. BDG, as the GYMTERNET calls her. I really liked her balance beam routine. She was supposed to exhibition, and then she had to be thrown into the lineup after Bridget was hurt. And I feel like it was such a different routine from the majority of Florida routines. It's just lots of flexibility, lots of pointed toes, a lot of just long fluid lines, and it looked very fluid and elegant compared to most Florida routines, which I think usually are more powerful, we'll say. They tend to go that direction. I don't know. Did anyone else get to see this routine?
Didn't.
Unfortunately, I have not found a video of it on the internet, but it was beautiful, so you'll have to trust me. And then my other question is, how do you feel about birdsong before routines? Because Ball State, their mascot is the cardinal, and before every routine, they have a little chirping. What do you guys think? Would you like that? Would you not like that? Do you want, like, WVU to come in, the Mountaineers, with their shotguns afterwards, or what?
I was going to say, I think it's better than a shotgun cocking. It's literally like, yeah, that's like some NRA level shit right there. But, yeah, no, I'm fine. It just gets redundant as like a spectator, I think. Like even Penn State, you know, they have their like before their routine. So if anything, I think it just is kind of annoying after a while. But I do think it's a fun way to represent your school in a, you know,
super
in that way.
If it was like, if they change it from like chirp chirp to something more Hunger Games-y, like they used, you know, something, then it could be kind of edgy. Like, are we about to overthrow the government at any time and stage a revolution? Or that could be very American. But are you snacking, Evan? What's happening in the background? Evan's like, birds. Time for his dinner, you guys. We're getting late.
I caught a bird. I was defeathering it. Sorry.
He was cooking at the end of last show. Now he's gone hunting. But no, I don't like these things either. The growling or the lightning or any of those, it drives me nuts.
The gator chomp, the Utah U.
I hate it.
If the U.S. women's gymnastics team were to do something like this, what would be their motion, do you think? Would there be like a flag fluttering in the wind? I was trying to think of this the other day, and I couldn't come up with anything.
I think it would be like the pledge, like hand over your heart.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
That would be so American. That would be good. Oh my God. Go ahead. I just thought of something.
No, I had nothing. I was just intrigued with what you were going to say.
Okay, we can go back to this meet in a second, but okay, you guys, I'm totally looking for this video and I can't find it anywhere, and I know it exists. I know I saw this video somewhere, but I don't think it's called anything that's helpful. But you guys have to help me find this because some people don't believe it exists, and it does. So this is a video of Amanda Borden and JC Phelps and some of the 1996 boys. I don't remember who they were, but maybe Blaine Wilson is in it or McCready or something. And they're all on a tumble track and they're doing a workout, but they're working out together. So maybe it was during the tour. Maybe it was like post 96 Olympics. And they're just doing like basics, and then they start one-upping each other. And there's a lot of like smack talking, and they're clearly all flirting with each other. And it's such a good video, and their just form is perfect, and their basics are like amazing. And it clearly was not meant for other people to see. It was just like someone's videotaping, and it's very candid. And it's not that horror show thing from the Kelly and Regis show or whatever that was called before, Regis and Kathy Lee, where she like gets in like a 70s leotard with tights underneath and like jazzercises and tries to do a forward roll. Oh my God, barf. It is not that video. If you look up Tumble Track and like Amanda Borden, and that comes up. So I'm trying to find this video, and I'm determined. So if anybody recognizes this, will you, Evan, have you ever seen this video? Uncle Tim? No one's seen it but me.
I really have not. And I should.
I know.
Like, there's no reason for me to not have seen this. So that's why I'm thinking it might be one of your dreams.
It exists. You were born in 96, right? Yeah.
I was alive, yeah.
So,
I didn't really have thoughts to think at that point, though.
So you should totally know about it. Okay. Uncle Tim.
And I do think it's probably real because Jess's gymnastics streams usually get a bit more escalated.
They do. This is true.
So we haven't mentioned any of the men's meets yet, and to quickly touch upon the Cal versus Stanford meet, which I attended in Berkeley, I'd like to give a shout out to Jordan Alexandrov, who is on the Cal team. He is very promising. He is on the Bulgarian national team, and he's competed at the World Championships. And Elfie Schlegel would say he has that international look. She would be having hot flashes about his parallel bar routine. It's a really pretty routine. So if you do get the chance to go to a meet where Cal's competing, keep an eye out for Jordan Alexandrov. Also on Cal's team, you should keep an eye out for Kevin Wolting. He only finished 0.05 of a point behind Akash Modi of Stanford at the meet in the all-around. And he's also really interesting to watch because he gets very into the cheering when he gets when he sticks a dismount on parallel bars, for instance. It's like he just won the gold at the Olympics. He is so into it. And I'm used to watching like these more incredible Hulk type guys like Stacey Irvin do these, shout to God, pray, like yelling kind of moments. But he's very slender compared to Stacey. He's not as beefy. So it's an interesting juxtaposition. I'd like to have a cheer off between Kevin and Stacey Irvin. Who can yell the loudest? Also, on Stanford's team, Stanford won the meet, and Akash Modi took the all-around title. You need to keep an eye open for Akash Modi. He was on the men's national team. He'll vie for another spot on the men's national team at the Winter Cup in February. I do think that Akash either needs to clean up his form a bit or has been blessed or not blessed, however you want to see it, with a body similar to Rebecca Bross's, where your knees always look a little bent. I'm not sure which one is the case, but I wish his knees could just be a little bit straighter at all times. Then also on Stanford's team, you have to watch Sean Centers. We've raved about his shoe felt vault in the past, and he's actually planning to compete a triple twisting Yurchenko. So if you want to see a triple twisting Yurchenko live, you need to go to a Stanford meet. I don't know what meet he's going to whip it out, but I do know that he's planning. I do know he's planning on whipping out the big one eventually.
That's great. I can't wait to come to one of their meets now. I'm in. I'm sold. Yeah. In the Masters Gymnastics world, a couple of exciting things happening. There's going to be an adult gymnastics camp. Training camp just for us in New Hampshire in July. And you can sign up now. The info's on our website. Sign up now. It's not a commitment to absolutely that you're going to do it, but I think it's like 3 or 4 days in the summer. It should be really fun. And you can do as many things as you want or not. So you don't have to, commit to 3 or 5 hours of gymnastics every day. But you can pick the things you want to do. And there's like a lake nearby for swimming and all kinds of fun stuff. So you can do that. There is the Oakville Gymnastics is hosting their World Gymnastics Championships, which really just means that they give away beer as the prizes. And they also have, this is the meet that they have that mulligan money where if you mess up, you can pay your fake money and do over, which I love. I think every meet should have this. That's coming up in March. The information for that will also be on our website or on masters-gymnastics.com. I love the story that British Gymnastics put out in their magazine about these 4 dads whose kids started doing acro. And so then these 4 dads with no previous gymnastics experience decided to learn acro too. And then they competed in the British veterans competition. The veterans is like masters or adult. And they won the championships for their age group. I love that story. It's like they were inspired by their kids. They learned something new. They're doing fitness. It's just, It's great. And then I also want to give a huge shout out to British Gymnastics, who did an adult gymnastics video, which we tweeted this week. And also this episode takes its namesake from this British Gymnastics adult gymnastics video. It encompasses all the great things about adult gymnastics. It's like, forget the Leo, say goodbye to the treadmill, hate doing cardio, we have adult gymnastics instead. All the things I love. And it's just, I love how the British are totally embracing this, and I wish the US would do the same. And so I'm calling you out, Scott Bregman. I know that you have the power, even though you always say that you don't, and you don't care about it. But you could totally do a video like this, and it would be awesome. And I know you have some downtime between now and the next World Championships. So how about a video like this? Because basically British Gymnastics is totally kicking your ass in this area. I'm just saying. They totally are. So I know you're going to laugh when you're going to be like, no, that's ridiculous. I have nothing to do with this. But I'm just saying you could if you wanted to. Okay. Challenge has been laid out there. We'll see what happens.
Unfortunately, we don't have the money and tools at our disposal that Scott Bregman has. So if you'd like us to improve our production quality and support the show and send us to awesome meets, you can help us pay our bills. You can use our Amazon link to shop for anything, and a little part of what you buy goes back to us. You can also review us on iTunes or Stitcher, or you can donate directly one time or monthly, as little or as much as you want, using the donate button on our website.
Until next week, when we are back, you can watch all the NCAA meets everywhere, even abroad. You know, you can sign up for, the Pac-12 has Pac-12 YouTube International for you international viewers that you can watch. And a lot of the stuff is streaming internationally now, which is so exciting. So watch all the NCAA meets. Remember, there's men's meets happening too, not just the women's meet. And until next week, oh no, I forgot. Credits. Let's give credits where credit is due. Gymnastic is produced and edited by me. Our content and social media director is Dr. Uncle Tim. Our audio engineer is Ivan Alexander. Theme song is mixed by Chris Siculo, as performed by NWA. Transcription services are provided by our fantastic volunteer team of Katie, Alex, Amanda, Cece, Danica, Emma, and Christy. Until next time, I'm Jessica from masters-gymnastics.com.
I'm Uncle Tim from Uncle Tim Talks Men's Gym.
I'm Evan. Find me on Twitter @Yoev.
Talk to you guys next week. Thanks for listening.